It's been good to have a couple weeks of a break. My kids, even one night in like a dire moment, said, "Mama, your Q&A." She reminded me at like 9:15, but she didn't realize that we were canceling. So it's great to be back. We will be back on a normal schedule every Monday night at 8:30, and we're going to dive right in with getting your savings going, because we all are turning over new leaves. We all have a list of things we want to try to do better at in 2022. And honestly, your savings needs to make number one on the list, if not number two. I'm cool with your health being number one and your savings being number two. I won't fight you for that spot. But your savings definitely, well, maybe we'll even bump it to number three. If you want to read through the Bible, that can take precedence over savings as well. But top three, guys. That's where your savings, goals, everything you're putting into it, that's where it needs to be. So that's where we're going to jump to automatically, is getting you to think about savings. Now, obviously, a lot of us already do that. That's the focus of Southern Savers. That's why, a good chunk of you are with me every Monday night. So what can we do better? How can we push that a little harder? How can we focus on that a little harder this year? That's our goal. Now, if you've got problems, questions, you're struggling to save, you're struggling to find areas to cut, I would love to hear that. I would love to be able to help. So leave any questions you have, saving money, completely off topic, whatever it might be, leave those in the comments and I will gladly answer them. So between myself and my husband, I should catch them. That's the goal, him being here to help me too. And I will gladly try to help in any way that I can. So to dive right in on this, and guys, I'm even trying, turning over a new leaf here. So no, I do try to write things down, but on Q&As that we've done a ton, I don't always sit down and map out where I want us to go, but we got a plan tonight and we've got a lot to cover. So hands down, we need to start by actually making the goals. It's one thing to say, I want to save more money. It's another thing to actually spell that out. So I get that we all want to save more money. Everybody, if I asked you, do you want to save more money? You would say yes. But did you really sit down and spell out what that means? What does that look like? Or why? All of those things, they need to be spelled out. So big and small goals, big and small ways to hit those goals. That's what I really want you to be thinking about. So get out a sheet of paper, get out a pen, go old school, and write these down. What am I saving for? Big and small. Again, guys, so am I saving for retirement? Hopefully. College, maybe. Retirement needs to be first. Hopefully, I am not the first person to tell you that. But then go small. We go to the beach every year. I want to make sure that we have the money to pay for our trip to the beach. I personally, my 2022 goal, my husband already knows this, but it all depends on his vacation leave and savings. I would love to take our kids out west, family road trip. Now, I am ignoring the idea of 7 kids in the car right now. Sounds like a blissful trip. We're not going to think about getting there. But that's on my list. What am I saving for? I want to take kind of a last big family vacation, because this is really the last year that we have all of our kiddos in the house. So I view 2022 as my, if I could cram it all in there, this is my year for that. So those are all on my list of what are our goals and how are we getting there. So you got to map that out, pen and paper, go old school and do it. And, obviously not alone. Get together on this one. When it comes to trips, I think sometimes my husband just goes wherever I tell him to pack for. Trips are not always his cup of tea. He has a great time once he gets there, but it's not necessarily his goal. So I do recommend that you try to get on the same page with where your goals might be, or at least be willing to go along on the trip if that's the case, like he is. But that we are at least kind of doing this together. We're in the same boat, that you're getting on the same page with those goals for sure. Okay, so to jump in and to try to answer some questions too, just so I don't miss anything. Sorry, I don't always get to look at the comments right away. Hello, Kayla in Tennessee, and Evelyn, Teresa. It's great to see you guys. I do feel like it's been a whole year. No, it's been 2 weeks, but feels like a really long time. Kayla says, I'm a beginner and I don't know where to start. So Kayla, we're going to jump in to start. I will tell you tonight, we're not going to hit necessarily like in and out on grocery savings. We're going to go there. I'm also going to do some online workshops here in the next few weeks too. I keep meaning to post those dates, but we will get there for groceries. So tonight we're going to start baby steps on saving money. And Rebecca, I see your question. So what are the best family cell phone plans? And I will answer it in a second, but if anyone else wants to chime in on what they're using for their family cell phone plans in the comments and help Rebecca out, I know she would be thankful for that. I will tell you, for most folks, the cheapest that you're going to find is to go with the straight talk, everything's a no contract, but kind of the off-brand cell phone plans. They still run on name brand towers, but it's a lot cheaper than the Verizons and the T-Mobiles of the world. So that would be my 2 cents on that one, but I would love to hear other people chime in on Rebecca's comments too. Okay, so to dive in, we've got just general goals. That's all I want you to do. I'm not like saying we sat down and we wrote a book about what our savings goals were, but we do need to write them down, and then we need to tangibly decide how we're going to hit them. Can you hit them based on what you already had? Maybe, maybe you don't need to change anything in your life. Probably not. There's probably a few things you do need to change, but before we change anything, I want you to help these goals actually happen by automating some savings from the start. So I'm not saying like you decide you're going to save half your income and so you do, but you can't actually afford to do that. I just mean let's start small and say, you know what, we're going to at least take a leap here, and we are going to automatically deposit $100 a month into a savings account. That's not a huge amount of money. Now, it may feel like a huge amount of money, but it's really not. At the end of the year, you've saved $1,200, which is great. But long term, we need to be thinking actually a little bit bigger. So, retirement, all of those, $1,200, it's going to help you, but it isn't going to get you there. So I don't want you, I don't know. I want to be the helping you out and encouraging you, but I also kind of in a sense want to be that hard trainer. I want to tell you the truth here. So I do want you to automate that savings. I want it to start at $100 or whatever you feel like is a little tight, but is doable. And then let's start to find extra money and let's start to add to that amount every month. So automate something and then easily add to it as you see yourself doing better and better. But going ahead, setting a number aside that feels a little tight, feels a little painful, but is doable, that gets it started. It's no longer I need to do this. You did it. You automated it. It's going. It's already happening. And then you can add in more and more as you find more and more ways to carve out a little bit extra here, save something on this one. So first off, where are we going to stick this money? So to automate savings, there's a few things you can do. Some of you, literally, you can take this as simple as telling your HR department, I want all of my paycheck to go in this account, and I want $100 to go in this account. And they do it from the start off of your paycheck. So that's option A. Option B, though, is that you actually just set up an account, and every account that is out there will let you automatically fund it with a recurring deposit. That's all you're doing. So a few options for you as to where to do that. First off, what's not an option is your local bank. I love our local bank. They're great. They are not where you need to put this savings money. There's two things wrong there. First, they give you nothing to put your money in the bank. You might as well just bury it in a hole in the backyard. You are not going to earn anything on it in the bank. So not put it in the bank. Second problem there is that it's really, really accessible for you. Like crazy. It's connected to your checking account. So if you screw up, it just automatically, don't do that. Not in the local bank. It needs to be in a separate location. A lot of you guys have heard me say this through the years. So easiest, low earning is that you set up an online money market, online savings account. When I say low earning, it's low earning. Right now, the rates are about 0.5 to 0.55%. That's the easiest, yes, or it feels the most normal. It's not really going to earn you a lot, but you can do that. So an online money market or an online savings account. It's not my favorite option, but it's there. It is what we did for a number of years. So if it feels safe for you, I completely understand. Another option is that you actually put it in an online investment account. Now, this is a little step up. This is a savings account in a sense. You can get this money back anytime you want. And I mentioned this towards the end of last year, and a whole bunch of you guys were like, whoa, explain that a little bit more. So I just figured we'd start there. But this type of account, you can literally put money in. It's in the stock market, and you can get it out anytime you want. Now, if it's made a bunch of money, you're technically going to owe some, potentially owe some capital gains or even short-term gains if you didn't leave it in there long enough. So do keep that in mind. But for most of us, our goal long-term here is that this is, a chunk of money that's going to sit there. It's going to earn more than the local bank. If I need it, I'm needing a little tiny amount. Capital gains, earnings. You can Google it. I'm not going to be your accountant, but for most of us to have capital gains issues, you would need to withdraw. We're talking like $70,000. I think for most of us, we're going to be okay. The tiny little bit is not going to hurt of how it would trigger any sort of taxable impact for you. So 2 options here to do that. First off is Schwab. So Schwab is kind of a go-to. It's an easy investment account. But the biggest reason for it, it's one of the biggest that's out there, is this guy right here. You can open this account $0. So literally you open it and you fund it with $25. And there are no fees. There's no minimum maintenance fee. There's no minimum amount. And if you get regular mutual funds and ETF funds, that's what I would recommend the most, you're looking at $0 for trades as well. So 0 cost here. This is highly reputable. Charles Schwab, been around for ages. A lot of us even have, this is where your 401k is through. So very trustworthy in that sense. Now, this is still investments. I don't recommend that you get all brave and start diving into something you don't know. So if this scares you, another option is Acorns. So Acorns is something that I've had for probably 1.5 years now. And Acorns is where it is in investments, but it's set it and it's forget it. It is not $0. So I will tell you that up front. And I'm going to put a link in if you're interested in Acorns. It is like a referral link. It's my Acorns link. But you automatically, when you deposit money, you get money as well for setting up your account. So with Acorns, it has a $3 a month fee. So I'm just going to tell you that. It's not free. But compare that to the earnings that you would get in your local savings account. It blows it out of the water. So I'm going to show you guys our Acorns for the last year. This is our account. Boom, you can see it. This is just super tiny. I have this automated for automated deposits, and I have this set for rollovers, which means if I go to the gas station and I buy $47.76 worth of gas. I drive an SUV, so you can tell it's probably a higher number than someone who drives, a little Camry or something like that. That's 76 cents. They will roll over 24 cents, and then it would get deposited into the Acorn. So it's adding up a little bit of change, and it has an automated deposit. So for the last year, we would have paid $36 in fees, but this is the big number right here. This account made $172.66. Now, this is automated. I don't pick the mutual funds. I just tell them how risky I want to be. I can take this money out at any point as well. There's no fees to take money out. So if deciding where to invest scares you, this is literally as simple as it gets. Yes, we paid $36 in a yearly fee. It's the basic price. The earnings here still equaling $136 on that money. You're not going to get that in a bank account locally. So if you put $1,700 in your local savings account, they are not going to hand you $136 at the end of the year. So it has pros and cons. The cons being that it does have a $3 monthly maintenance fee, 36. We're just giving it to you what it's going to cost for the whole year. But the pro here being you literally I don't even know what it's invested in. You're just going to tell it what you want the breakdown to be. So it even tells at the bottom how much is in large company stocks, small. I don't know what the stocks are. I have just told it what my risk level is. It gets that I'm willing to be a little daring, and it has done really, really well. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. So an online money market, going to earn 0.55%, which is basically nothing. Schwab, which you're going to need to at least have an idea of where you want to invest. Now, they do have some ways to research that. You can do your own digging, but $0 fees here. Acorns being option C does have a cost, but don't need to know anything, which is pretty sweet. And has earned, the year's not been an amazing year. I mean, it has if you're S&P 500, but everybody else, it wasn't really a wowing year. The S&P 500 had a huge year, still earning 10%, 10.99%. It's a pretty great year. So that gives you some options as to where to stick this money. All three of those do allow or will automatically say, hey, would you like to set up a recurring deposit? Yes. So to jump back into that side of things, we've at least got some ideas of where to stick it. Then you can start to focus on how much can we put aside each month. And, even if it's little, guys, it does not have to be a lot. So my recurring Acorns deposit is $10 a week, which is $50 a month. Or $40 to $50 a month, depending on how many weeks there are. So it does not have to be a ton. It can be something super, super basic. That $10 a week, I really could up it. We tend to put more of our money in our Schwab account or, my husband's 401k, whatnot. So Acorns for me is kind of just playing. It's just seeing how it does. But it is easy money that just sits there and adds up. So to kind of bump back and, answer some other questions, but also to get into how can we save more. Let's kind of move that way. Stacy, I'm glad your husband's kind of like mine. Where are we going? When are we leaving? That's all he needs to know. I like it. It's the basics. Okay. So have I ever heard of Mint Mobile? So Paige, yes, Mint is, it's a great mobile cell phone company. So Rebecca's asking about ways to save. That could be one to look into. Mint is one of the off-brand phone companies that's out there. They do have great prices and kind of unlimited plans and whatnot that you can go digging for as well. So it could be a great one. And Stacy, great question. Stacy says she signed up for Acorns in December. How do you decide how aggressive and what is the risk between each level? So how you decide how aggressive is going to need to be a joint decision. I guess first off, it depends on how much money you're going to put in this account. If it's just going to be we just put a tiny little bit in there and we just see how it grows, then I wouldn't really worry about it. I'd go high risk. If this is going to be your primary savings account, or you're even Acorns has a IRA side, really save for retirement, then you need to get together with your spouse and you do need to decide how risk okay you are. Long term, the stock market makes money. The real thing is, how scary does that seem to you? Now, my husband and I, we're actually almost complete opposites. I would be like 100% stocks, which is not really the way to go, but I'm okay with risk. I think risk is fun because I really like the great days. When I see that the stock market does bad, I don't even look. I don't want to open up the account. I don't want to know how bad it was. I like the high days. My husband's concept for risk is please just don't tell me what you've done. So you do need to be on the same page. You do need to do what makes each other feel comfortable. I would say for most folks, some of it is age-based. How fast do you need this money? So if we are looking at long-term retirement accounts and you're, in your early 40s, even mid 40s, you could really be in like an 80-20, which means 80% risk, 80% in the stock market, 20% is in bonds. Keep in mind, bonds make nothing. Bonds are like your local savings account. So bonds are, I'm just sitting on this money. The more risky you get, you could go 90-10. That's really risky. And then the less you step back from that, the more you're buying bonds, the less you're buying stocks. So hopefully that makes sense. When I'm picking a risk level in Acorns, that's really what they're getting an idea of. If I were to open up the account tomorrow and see that I lost money, am I going to be like devastated? Or am I going to be cool with knowing that 6 months from now, it's probably going to go back up? So, honestly, guys, if we were to really look at it, let's look at the S&P 500 for 2021. It was a pretty big year in terms of the stock market, but it also had some pretty big lows as well. So let's see. I'm just randomly searching here to find a page. There's lots of pages that you can do this same look at. So right now we're looking at the last day on the S&P. It was a good day on the stock market, but let's go back for the last year. This is what it did. Now it had some pretty big drops. That was not some pretty months here recently, but it's still climbing. And that's where, like, overall, if you're cool with that, you see that bigger picture, you're probably going to be okay. Now, if we take this back to the 3-year mark, this was scary. How many of you looked at your retirement accounts come last March when the world went in lockdown and you cried? It's okay, because look at where you are now. That's kind of where you need to go. So again, this is the S&P 500, which the S&P 500, if you compare it to the NASDAQ and the Dow, these are just indexes of a whole bunch of stocks. But this one technically had the best earnings over all the other markets for 2021. So it's a fun one to look at. They're all going up, but just looking at the S&P 500 on that one. Okay. A few other questions. And Evelyn says, I was wondering if anyone knows how to do cash envelopes for a savings challenge. Any tips? Really, you're looking at going with the envelope system, Evelyn. Honestly, the way you're going to do that is to look at your budget, to basically take cash out of the bank for every piece of your budget. So some folks don't do this for, their bills that are set. They just leave that in the bank. But you would say grocery, entertainment, date night, anything that was considered an expense that you have control over, not I have to pay the electricity bill kind of thing. You can put that in an envelope system. That's a lot of work in today's world. Typically, you're going to do it with, what am I making these payments for? Gas, those types of payments. You're going to put all that money in an envelope for the whole month. When the envelope's empty, the envelope is empty. That is the concept of the envelope system. It does push you to save. So you decide in your budget that you're going to put, making up a number here, $500 in your grocery budget. When $500 is gone from the envelope, you don't go back to the grocery store. So towards the end of the month, you're realizing, ooh, we need to be a little tighter. We're going to do beans and rice this last week, or whatever it might be. Maybe you're going to do awesome and you're not going to run out. But that's the concept of the envelope system. With the envelope system, you're still dealing with a lot of cash. You're making cash payments. So please be wise. Don't carry all of that with you in your purse. Really bad idea. I remember in college actually babysitting for our campus minister. I was probably a sophomore in college, and opening up the freezer to find something for this baby that I was watching, and finding envelopes in the freezer. Had no clue what this was. That's when I learned what the envelope system was. But that's a really, thinking of an out of the box place to keep it, because it is a bunch of cash. Don't really want it to get stolen, but can be a fun place to keep it as well. Maybe you hide it so the babysitter doesn't find it quite so easily, but gives you an idea of where you could keep it. Okay. When is the best time to buy a new iPhone in the next 6 months? So, I guess what you need to decide is, do you want the latest version of the iPhone? They're looking at a completely new redesign for 2022. Apple releases all of their new iPhones every September. They will do a half release in April. So in past years, we've seen that be like the SE model or the S model, they name it something different. So there's potential of a new iPhone in April, but the big remodel release is always in September. What that means, if you want the newest version, you got to wait till September. Or, Mikkel, if you want a deal, it's waiting until right before that release, because all of our sites are trying to get rid of iPhone 12s and whatever numbers you're looking for. I think we're on 13 now. They're trying to get rid of those before the new models come out. So you will find some great deals on the older models right before the new model releases. So if you could hold tight, I would. You're going to find better deals like in August, right before that launch, which is the end of September, early October. So be late August. Okay. Oh, Paige, is Bitcoin worth investing? So here's the thing. Bitcoin is not pretty right now. It's been a little scary and it's been dropping a ton. Everybody's a little different on this. Here's just a general Google on Bitcoin, just what Google's returning. This is the last month of Bitcoin. It's just red. If we go up, it had a great year overall. It's still not ending. It's ending up 6,000. When you're dealing with cryptocurrencies, you are dealing with still kind of this weirdness and unknown. You're also looking at 2022 that is going to have new cryptocurrency regulations that do not currently exist. So there's a lot that the government wants to do in crypto that doesn't currently exist. That is going to impact it in this coming year. Personally, I love risk. I am all like buy 100% stocks. This scares me. So it's all, I would say it's what you feel comfortable in. Maybe you play with this in just a really tiny amount versus a large amount. If you want to play in Bitcoin, you can do that in Robinhood, which is another easy app for investing. And there's no fees behind that either. I don't know that I would go and invest a ton of money here. Definitely not as we go into possibly kind of an unknown year with some new regulations coming down on Bitcoin. So my husband's sending me a little note. Can I explain what Bitcoin is? Kind of. That's the problem, is that I don't even fully understand Bitcoin. But it is a cryptocurrency. So it is almost like a pretend currency. It's like we all decided tomorrow that we would use Monopoly money, and Publix was cool with taking it. The gas station was cool with taking it. And so we all played with Monopoly money. It's kind of the easy way to look at cryptocurrencies as a whole. It's electronic cash. I can technically pay with it for things at this point, but not a lot. At this point, you're just letting it sit there and earn and hoping that you can cash out, get it back in US currency, and then use it for other things. We aren't really to where we could walk into Publix and pay with Bitcoin. So in terms of it truly being an electronic system, we aren't really there. Okay, but hopefully that kind of helps a little bit. I don't know. That's the problem, is it's what you kind of understand for it. Bitcoin kind of scares me. Crypto kind of scares me. But, to move on, what you decide to invest in is your own call on that one and your own risk level. It's a little too risky for me and a little too unknown. I just would want to do more. There's tons of great podcasts out there if you're trying to figure out what to invest in and what funds are good to invest in. So you can just go hunting for podcasts and get some ideas. Just remember, do not make massive financial decisions based on one podcast. Go and look up what that fund is, how it's worked over the last year, 3 years, and 5 years before you dive in and buy something. Okay. Kim asks, do I recommend the envelope saving system, mixing them up? Oh, gotcha. So you number your envelopes $1 to $52, mix them up, and each week you select one and put that amount of money in the envelope, seal it at the end of the year. So humorously, Kim, I actually have a post going up tomorrow morning that is a printable of doing a weekly savings that is exactly that. Now, I do not recommend the sealing the envelope system, because the $1,378 that you put in sealed envelopes at the end of the year is still worth $1,378. It hasn't done anything. So this is where, again, if you're looking at doing a weekly savings challenge of the week 1, you save $1, week 2, you save $2. That's what the post that's going up tomorrow is. Please stick it somewhere. Even your local bank at 0.2% is still better than nothing of a sealed envelope. So here again, you put in $1,378 this year, you make 10% on that, which is what this account did. You're looking at $138. That $138, that's equal to almost 3 weeks of extra earnings that you didn't put in. They put it in for you because it was making money the whole time it was somewhere. So I do love the idea of a weekly savings challenge, pushing yourself to save a little bit more. I just don't necessarily love the envelope side of that, like sealing it up so at the end of the year, I've got 52 envelopes with $1,378 in it. I would want to stick that somewhere where it is earning money. That would be my only push on this. Ameritrade, Brenda, also a great system. So most of the systems, honestly, guys, I mentioned Schwab because it's $0 and 0 fees to trade. This is where, whether you feel comfortable with Robinhood, which is a free app, or not, we all have Robinhood and a couple of other apps to thank for where investing is right now. Before Robinhood and before the other apps existed, you actually had to pay per trade, $9.99 a trade. You did have minimums on these accounts. They opened the playing field for an average American to start investing and to start learning about investing, which I love. It is a hobby of mine. It is fun. We're talking about, if you ever see me and we're randomly talking about something, I was talking about this with an 89-year-old lady at church on Sunday. I might say like Home Depot is up today. I own 2 shares, guys. We aren't talking about like I have thousands of dollars hanging in the balance, but it's fun. They level the playing field for all of us. So Ameritrade, Schwab, all of those large investment firms, most of them now are a 0 entry. I don't need $1,000 to get started. I don't have to make some really large investment of money to be able to buy these shares. I can get started with $10, no fees, and start buying. And that's pretty awesome. So they're all great. There is some risk behind it. Obviously, you're still messing with the stock market and not your local bank, but the earnings there are great too. Stacy, how does Robinhood work? Is it similar to Acorn? So kind of. No, Robinhood is really, if we're going to go there, is similar to Acorns. There's no fee with Robinhood. There's no monthly fee. However, but you're still going to have to make some decisions as to what you're grabbing. So it's, I guess, not Acorns, probably more like Schwab. You're going to have to decide what you're going to put in that Robinhood account. And you're going to have to decide what I'm going to invest it in. Am I going to invest in stocks? Am I going to invest in mutual funds? Am I going to invest in Bitcoin? I'm still going to have to make those decisions. So Robinhood versus Schwab, really no difference there at all. So it's whatever you feel comfortable with. A lot of folks do love kind of the ease of Robinhood, in that it feels like there's, less having to learn, having to figure it all out, but they're exactly the same. So it's whatever you feel the most comfortable using with those, different accounts. So however you want to look at it. Schwab, I would tell you, is a great one for your own personal account. So that is where I mentioned a few weeks ago and everybody was like, whoa, explain that. So we have a Schwab account that we do put money in every single month, and it is for large bills that are due normally in December. So our property taxes, our car insurance, our life insurance, all of those big, we pay them all at one time bills because you get a discount to do that. They go into this monthly payment, goes into a Schwab account. It's earning in mutual funds. It's actually done really well. It made about 10% over the last year. That was just me playing in mutual funds. I get to feel like I have a hobby, but I really get to feel like I'm beating the bank, because that's money that would have just sat in our savings account so that we were able to make those payments when those payments needed to be made. But 10% interest versus no interest, I creamed the bank. So that's where Schwab comes in for us, and is nice because it is then linked with the same place that 401k is worth or with, and your IRA, maybe, so maybe you look at Schwab or you look at Ameritrade or you look at some of those as being like, hey, I kind of have multiple things here, not just one. So that could be the perk if you're trying to decide where to invest, is looking at where you already have some things and going from there. Okay, we've got to get to some ways to increase your savings. So I want you to automate it. What are some things that we could go ahead and do? Now, before you start making this list, literally, that's what I've done. So before you sit here and you start looking at this list of I'm not going to buy this and I'm not going to buy that, if that scares you or it scares your spouse, our goal here is not to attack the other person and make them feel like they can't spend money. Maybe you decide this month we're going to do 2 things. And next month, we're going to add a 3rd. And we're going to slowly work into this. Think of it like a diet in that sense. If we all woke up tomorrow and we were going to go cold turkey, I will never again eat ice cream, chocolate, and you just listed out this really long list. The diet will work great, but it'll only work great for like a month. And then you will stuff your face with all of the things you couldn't have. Because it just doesn't work. Exclusion diets are great for a time period. We love keto, great for a time period, but long term, you're going to come off of that because you will think, wait, I love food. I forgot. I need food. So we can't save that way either. We can't make this really long list and try to attack all of that this month. Don't do that. It's going to make life miserable. So here's some ideas though. And then you decide, you know what, let's do 2 of those this month. Let's add more and more on as the months go by. That's probably the safer option. So first off, easy one, not going to hit a drive-through. So I'm not saying no eating out, not going to hit a drive-through. So no fast, no treats in that sense, no quick coffees for a month, and just see how that adds up. This is a hard one for me because I like to be kind of a treat mom. And if you've had a rough moment, I'm okay with we swung into Sonic and we got a treat. But those add up. That's $10. Even if you hit it at happy hour and you used the app, there are ways to save, I know. But it still adds up. So no drive-thrus, no coffees, no little treats, if that's what it is. Not saying no eating out. You can still find ways to save on those. Looking at your streaming and deciding we're going to pay for 1 streaming provider per month. Remember, most of our streaming providers, we pay monthly. There's not a contract with most of your providers. So instead of paying for Netflix and Hulu and whatever else, pick one. Watch that one this month, reassess at the end of the month who we're going to work with. Turn one off, turn one on. This is the pretty sweet part of being in a world of no contracts and no activation, no termination. Just do it, guys. The amount of money you're going to save on those, pretty sweet. Start meal planning. I'm not going to throw the coupons at you right now. We're going to go there next week. But just meal planning alone, having a plan for what is for dinner this week is huge. I'm not going to be sitting there having to figure it out at night, but I'm also not going to have a crisis of I don't have something on hand. I made a meal plan. I went to the grocery store. I bought everything I needed for that meal plan. I am not going to have to go back to the grocery store, which usually you don't leave with just what you came in with. So it is going to save you. Another one on that meal plan. This is an easy one. You're already cooking dinner. Cook extra on purpose for leftovers so that handles your lunches. I don't need to eat out for lunch if I already have easy leftovers that are delicious, hopefully, and I don't have to sit there and ponder. Even if you're running, you're in a hurry, leaving the house, it's easy to grab leftovers. Tip here, go ahead and put them in lunch kind of containers. when you're putting up your leftovers, separate it out into a few lunch containers. If that's the case, you can easily grab that and run out the door. Lunch is handled. I don't have to pay for lunch out. So making extras, you're already making the pots dirty here. There's no reason to not do the making extra unless you cannot hold yourself from eating it at dinner. So you do need to be good about your portion sizes at dinner, or your extras don't get you anywhere if people eat it up. Another one, obviously can't do this all year long, but have a 1 week a month that you eat from the pantry or the freezer. We do not go to the grocery store that week. The best week of the month, always the last week of the month. Those are the weeks that we tend to see the lowest sales in the sale flyers. We also tend to see the lowest number of new coupons coming out. We see more coupons at the beginning of the month, less coupons towards the end of the month. So take that last week off, eat only from the pantry and the freezer. You might have to get a little creative, but it's a way to kind of eat up some things that maybe you bought and you didn't use a few weeks back. Now you've used them up. They're not sitting there. They're not going to go bad. And you took a whole week off of your grocery budget. So if we go back to Evelyn and you've decided to do the envelope system, you may really want to do that last week of a true envelope system. Another big one. My kids tell me that I need like a bumper sticker or a shirt that says easily distracted by clearance. I think they're right. I am easily distracted by clearance. And I'm probably not the only one. I think a lot of you would probably agree with me. It's a kind of a fun category. I love clearance. But maybe you take a whole month off. You know what? There's nothing that I need on those clearance racks this month. We're going to be okay without them, because those clearance racks, they add up. You're not thinking about it. You're thinking, well, it was on clearance. But even at 50 and 75% off, it's still an added cost on the amount that you spent in the store. So put yourself on clearance restrictions, just a little bit at a time. I'm not saying you have to do it all the time. That is how I handle birthday presents, keeping a gift closet stocked. I get it. But just taking some breaks from clearance is a big one and will help the budget too. This is kind of a hard one for some of us, but just like an eat out of the pantry, an eat out of the freezer moment, if you are a big crafter, I would encourage you to have a no new craft supplies month. And let's, in a sense, eat out of the craft closet. So use up what you have. Get creative if you need to, but rather than bringing home new craft supplies, working through some of the craft supplies that you have can be a great way to decrease the budget, if that's one of the sore areas for you. And then, we can always get into the couponing side of things, the mobile apps that are out there, the cashback apps that are out there, using those, the gas savings apps, whatever it might be, getting a little creative with those. But those are just some ideas of little ways. That's really where I was going here with this list. Little ways that can impact how much you're spending and thereby impact how much you're getting into a savings account. But I imagine you guys could add to that list too. So if you've got some other ideas that I didn't just give you, feel free to shout those out in the comments and help some of us think of other ideas of things that we could cut. I'm not telling you don't drink coffee. Just don't drink coffee out for a week or a month so that you have taken a little bit of a break on spending that money. Maybe it will help you out, and you'll be surprised at how much is left over at the end of the month. In terms of end of the month, when it comes down to this extra bit that you're saving, I encourage you to automatically start to put that into a savings account too. So start the month automating savings, and then potentially end the month with kind of a sweep to savings. Not meaning like down to the penny. We need to keep something in the checking account. But you decide what that amount is that makes you feel comfortable. Just, let's say you've got $1,000 in the checking account. And for some of you, that might be like, oh, that would be magical. You decide what that amount is. But whenever you hit that amount, anything above it is an automatic sweep to savings. Keep in mind, you're not earning anything on your checking account. So keeping a really large checking account balance doesn't do you any good. It makes you feel safer, but you're not going to have a bill that I need to pay today that is that huge, okay? So keep that in mind. I'm still going to have access to this money. even if I invest it. We're not putting it in a 401k or an IRA here. You want to do that too, but that's not what we're talking about. You're still going to be able to get that money out. So if some unknown thing happened, 2 days, you can have this money back. I don't need to keep thousands and thousands of dollars in my checking account. I need to be able to handle the bills that are coming, but not the unexpected bills. That's not what a checking account is for. So just to hit that one home for anybody. So automate it at the beginning of the month, whatever you can handle. I want it to feel a little tight. And then a sweep at the end of the month of whatever is above that certain amount. So maybe you did awesome this month. We didn't spend a lot of money on certain things. Then sweep whatever is extra into that savings at the end of the month so that you're taking advantage of your hard work and then sitting back and watching it grow. I don't recommend just looking at it at the end of the year. The sealing the envelope side is fun. And at the end of the year, yes, you have $1,378 and I love it. But if you put it into a bank and you can open it up and you can literally sit there and look at it like this and watch it grow, that is way more encouraging. It would be like trying to go on a diet and never getting on a scale. You know you're losing weight, but you're not letting yourself see the number. I get it. There are some diets that actually tell you to not weigh in. They still want you to weigh in every now and then. You still need that motivation of seeing that number drop on a diet. And we still need that motivation of seeing that number go up on a savings diet, basically. So I do recommend that you put it somewhere where you can check in on it. Even if it's in a savings account and it's not earning anything, the point is that you're working and you want to see the efforts of your work. So putting it somewhere where I can watch it grow and watch it do, better and better because I'm doing better and better. We want to be able to do that. So don't stick it somewhere where I can't see it. I can't be encouraged by my own efforts. That's not helping you out. Okay, so Rosa says, do I always buy paper towels? I do. So Rosa, that's actually one I had it on the list as easy ways to save money. And one of those is nixing paper goods. So not doing paper plates, not doing paper towels, working with kitchen towels and sponges. You can totally go there. And I think that you're awesome if you do, but a lot of you know my weakness. I will gladly not eat out for a whole month if you will just give me paper plates. We all have something that provides joy. We can go Marie Kondo here. I will hug paper plates. They do provide me with joy because I have 5 kids. So we do paper towels and we do paper plates. If you can give them up, that can be huge for you too on just the disposable paper items. Can be a massive part of your budget. Now, I do try to find deals on those. So most of our paper goods are coming from the drugstore. I'm paying for them with rewards. So in the end, they don't really hurt a ton out of our budget, but I am buying them. It's like confession time. I buy paper towels. I don't think I'm the only one on that one, but I'm pretty sure that I would need to just check myself into some kind of home if I didn't have my paper goods in the end. Okay, I'm hoping I hit everyone's questions as we went through and I didn't miss anybody. I'm not trying to take away what you love. I know everyone's like, I love clearance. I get it. I do too. I seriously love clearance, but there are times where maybe we say not this week or maybe even not entire month. There are also some months that clearance isn't as amazing as other months. So you could get smart and you could pick some off months to be your, I gave up clearance this month. You gave yourself a sticker and you moved on. Wendy, I love it. Wendy chimed in and said $27.40 of wasteful money per day equals $10,000 a year. That's huge. Thank you for that math, Wendy. So yeah, if we all sat down and said, you know what, I didn't run through the drive-through, I didn't get a coffee out, and I canceled Netflix, we found that little bit of money. Now, $27.40 to find that a day could be hard for some of us that are already uber frugal, but still to even look at that in smaller numbers, $10 a day, that's $300 a month. Times 12, that's $3,600 for the whole year that you just found. So yeah, we don't have to be at $27.40, but that's pretty awesome. Easy way to save $10,000. Tin Man Lover says, I save my spare change for a very long time, and then I put it in the Coinstar machine at Walmart and get cash. Perfect. So, whatever, you can sit there and keep plunking away, even if you're plunking it away in a local piggy bank, is still working. A tip for Coinstar, by the way, not to choose to cash out, always choose to get a gift card, usually to that store. So like a Walmart gift card. Sometimes they run promotions with Amazon and a few other gift cards, and you won't end up paying a fee. So if you're in a place that's not charging a fee, great. But if you are, choosing the gift card as a payout will help you not lose some of the coins that you've been saving. And Wendy, yes. So Wendy chimes in and says, is investing in an Acorns account a good thing to do? It's an easy thing to do, Wendy, in the sense that you just set it and you forget it. I don't have to worry about where it's invested. They sit there and they manage what funds it's in, and it has performed well for us. That's what I have shown a few times here. This is our Acorns account. I also stuck a link in, and we can stick it in again in the comments. If you're curious and you want to start an account, it does cost $3 a month, so it's $36 a year. But again, our account has earned $172 in the last year, so you are going to make that back without a problem. And it will give you that incentive to make sure you're using it. Having that little bit of a cost behind it does make you say, oh, wait, I do need to put money in this account so that I can definitely earn back what that cost would have been, and you will without a problem. Best way to tackle credit card debt that is spread across multiple credit cards. Great question. And in terms of savings, we all need to put money into a savings account. But if you are dealing with debt, once you have a little nest egg saved up, you need to switch, and your extra money needs to go to those credit cards. So first off, what I would recommend, see if you have the ability to transfer any balances to a card. Might even be a new card, and that's scary sounding. But there are a lot of cards that do offer 0% interest on transfers for a certain period of time. So taking whatever debt you have, if you've got that ability to move it to a current card or a new card, if you're eligible, that has a 0% APR on transfers for, even a wild number would be like a year and a half. Sometimes it's just a year. Sometimes it's just 6 months. That is still 0% interest that you're paying on that amount. And our goal is to work hard on that amount while everything that I put towards it is going towards the balance and isn't going towards interest. So transferring, consolidating in a sense there is a good idea. You'll have a limit. There's going to be a max that they're going to let you do. So I don't know how much debt you're holding on those cards, but do what you can. Then there's 2 rules of thought here. You can go Dave Ramsey, which is you pay off the smallest balance first so that you get motivated, kind of like you want to be able to see it grow, and it keeps you going. It's really not the best advice there. I want you to focus on the one that has the highest interest rate and get that out of your way. Because letting an amount with a high interest rate sit there is costing you a ton of money every single day. So that's the card you want to try to transfer as much as you can off of. And then you want to just get rid of it, whatever has that highest amount. Leaving whatever has the lowest amount, paying what you got to pay on it, but putting all your extra towards the others is usually the way to go. Getting rid of that high interest rate one, and then working on the next and working on the next. So not necessarily the snowball method of smallest to largest, but largest interest rate to smallest. Transfer what you can off of that largest interest rate as much as you can as well. Big tip here, I've mentioned this in Q&As in the past, do not take out a home equity line to pay off your credit cards though. You can Google this one to learn more, but you are basically paying a unsecured debt, that's what a credit card is, with a secured debt. So if something happened and you didn't pay your home equity line, you have now lost your house. If something happened and you didn't pay your credit card, you have a horrible credit report, but you didn't lose your house. So no home equity lines in paying off that debt. Just transfer if you can with those 0% cards, if that's an option. Depends on what your credit report looks like. And then paying off the highest while you can. Okay. And Carl's right. So start investing slow. It will not take long before you do not miss that amount at all. And that's also part of kind of following that same advice from Carl, part of the starting from the get-go, the beginning of the month, guys. So for us, we have kind of two incomes. We literally save one of them. It hurts. There are moments where you're like, I really would love to just go buy something. But it's the moments where you step back and you're like, no, these are automated. This is already coming out. This is going into 401k. This is going into health savings account. So these all count as savings. And then at the end of the year, we can step back and go, whoa, we just put $30,000 into savings. That's pretty huge. But it took doing that from the start and having it, boom, couldn't stop it. Oh, well, you could, but not going to. It is automated. It is going to happen so that we never even get comfortable with that money being in the account. It doesn't exist. It's not there to spend because we got rid of it on the first day, payday. It moved out somewhere else. So that would be a big one. And you won't miss it if you never let yourself even get used to spending it. Can you cancel at any point with Acorns? Yes, Paige, you can. You can just head into your Acorns account. You can withdraw everything that's in there and close the account. So it is a month-by-month payment that they're going to take out, not a yearly, and there is no contract. So if you get into Acorns and you're like, I don't know, I want to switch and I want to do the mutual funds all myself, you could totally just transfer it all to Schwab and be done with it, or all to wherever you wanted to, and not, and then manage it yourself, though. That's the part that you have to be okay with. Oh, and Cheryl's chiming in too, for Homer. Cheryl's chiming in and saying, never, this is a great tip, never forget to ask. If you have that really high interest rate credit card, it is totally worth a call to see if you can get a lower rate. It's kind of like you're in the grocery store and you want to use a coupon from another store. It never hurts to ask. So same with your credit cards. Hey, I am really trying to work on paying down this debt. Can I get this interest rate lowered? And letting them see what they can do for you, and telling them, if I can't, I'm going to transfer this off. Sometimes that helps too, because they're making money. As long as you have a balance there, whatever that interest rate is, they're making money on you. So you can always kind of have that little threat of, I'm going to transfer it away. Oh, okay. Carl asked, great question, traditional or Roth? So if we're going retirement savings here for a second, which we should all have in this grand scheme of saving money, which one do you want? He says, I hate traditional because I am fixing to be forced to start withdrawing money out of it due to my age. He's 63. So traditional or Roth, really what it's going to depend on is, do you need the tax break right now for any particular reason? So maybe you are in a really high tax bracket and you feel like sticking it in a traditional is going to help you out, bring down your tax liability. Okay. I would say the, little bit, the $6,000 that we can put in a traditional IRA it is going to help your tax liability, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not a massive impact on your tax liability. Where Roth IRA, the difference here, guys, being traditional IRA, I get the tax savings now, this year. When I put the money in, I pay less income taxes on that money. Roth IRA, no tax impact now. I basically just put it into a savings account. I paid the taxes on it this year. But with a Roth IRA, when I pull it out, it has no taxes. What went in and what it earned, no taxes. So pretty sweet for a Roth IRA. There are some income limits on a Roth IRA, so not everyone qualifies, but I would imagine most of us are probably okay. So you lose the tax incentive now. That's where some people hesitate, traditional versus Roth. There is another reason to do traditional, so I'll just tell you guys, for us, traditional is where I am for my retirement for the next few years, because we're in a different boat. Not only does it help a little bit with taxes, but if you've got college-age kids, putting money in a traditional IRA decreases the amount of income that is seen on your college FAFSA forms. So when you're filling out those forms, you basically moving and hiding $6,000 worth of income. if you're able to do the full amount, it's a good thing. So there are some perks to a traditional, but for most folks, I really would encourage a Roth long-term. You're going to be happier with that. There's another side to a Roth too. You don't actually have to wait until you're 59 and a half. So if you're looking at retiring early with a Roth, you can actually withdraw money before your normal retirement age, as long as you're withdrawing just what you put in. I can't withdraw the earnings, but I can withdraw what I put in with no tax implications on that, no fees to do that. So kind of cool. I cannot do that on a traditional IRA. There are only a couple of times that you can take money out of a traditional IRA and not have a fee if you're taking it out early. So that's another perk of a Roth. Okay. Paige, 8 best ways to get rid of student loans. That sounds like a blog post that I should work on there. Number 1 would be calling, just as we already mentioned on the credit card, calling and seeing if you can get them to reduce your rates on those student loans. Right now, they're, depending on what kind of student loan you have, you potentially don't even have to, you're still not making payments on it. One option, if you haven't looked into it, is looking into the programs that are out there where you can actually work off your student loans. So we have a family friend that is a lawyer. He has a law degree from the Citadel, which is a private college, but working for the state government, as long as he works for the state government a certain number of years, he ends up getting all of that gone. Now, I'm not saying that's where you want to go. A lawyer working for the state government probably doesn't make as much money as a lawyer would, but pretty sweet for him with 5 kids to not have any student loans at the end of all of this. So that's an option, just to throw it out there. I know a lot of nurses and physician's assistants and doctors who've also done the same thing, way to pay off that really expensive graduate school debt and not be stuck trying to stay afloat with it. In terms of other sides of going through your student loans, if you've got multiple, it's following the same tips that you would use for a credit card. So paying off the highest amount first, seeing if you've got any incentives from employers. Maybe they're not a state employer, but other employers. There is a bill currently out there that would allow employers to basically, if they if you pay your student loans instead of your retirement, they can still put money in your retirement that matches it, kind of like a 401k match. So you're still getting a little bit of retirement money put in as you pay off student loans. So who knows what will happen there, but that could be an option too. Okay. Let's see. So, and Carl says his traditional IRA account. So if anytime you're rolling over like a 401k account or a pension account, you are going to be forced to put that into a traditional IRA. It's basically because you already took some tax savings on the money at some point. So 401k, I took that tax savings this year when I stop working wherever I work with that 401k and I go to roll it into my own account, not with that employer anymore. It has to be a traditional IRA. You've already taken the tax savings. If you want to convert it to a Roth, you could, but you would have to pay all of those taxes this year in a Roth conversion. And a lot of us would be a little scared by that. So most of us are going to end up in that traditional IRA that we don't necessarily love, but it does work, and in the end, you can, if you still have earnings, Carl, I'm going to throw this out here. I'm not your accountant. This is a big one whenever I start to say these things. But just to keep in mind, if you still have earnings, you said you're 63, if you've got to take distribution, which I was pretty sure required minimum distributions are now they've been pushed to 72. I don't know what your income is on that IRA, but just to keep that in mind that there were some changes to when required minimum distributions do kick in. But when you're there, if you still have income, keep in mind, you're still eligible to put money into a Roth IRA. Now, it doesn't help you in this year's taxes, but I can basically take that money that I'm forced to pull out of the traditional or some of it and stick it right back in another account as long as I have some sort of traditional income. So could be an option. I don't know whether you're still working or not working, but You could basically say, fine, I'll take it out of this account and I'll stick it over here if you don't need it right now, just as an idea. Okay. Rosa, great question. A recommendation on how to start credit for your 17-year-old. I would recommend for a 17-year-old, you could go ahead and get a secured credit card for them. It will show up on their credit report as a credit card. A secured credit card means that you basically go to the credit card company, they put down $200. I would recommend it be their money, and they are given a credit card with a $200 balance. As they spend money, they still pay the balance off with a monthly bill. But if for some reason they never did pay the credit card, the bank really already has the $200 that's there. This is a safe credit card in that sense. They can't run up a really high bill because whatever they run up, they've already had to put all that money aside to basically get the account in the first place. Again, make it their money. It's not mama's $200 that's securing this card, but it is letting them get that beginner credit card, and it is going to count. It's still a Visa. This is not going into CVS and buying like a money dot card, though. This is going online and getting a secured credit card. Your local bank will also offer them. So it is something to look into for teenagers if you're wanting your teenager to build credit. The minute that they get to a college campus, in the middle of the student union is going to be a big table with a ton of real credit card offers, not secured credit card offers. So this is a way where it is getting them started while they're still at the house, instead of the 18-year-old walking in, getting a credit card that has a $500 balance, and that just sounds pretty awesome. And then all of a sudden they've got themselves into some trouble. So it's a little bit of a safer bet for them if they can. Oh, that's awesome. So Karen is sharing kind of a exciting moment for her. She said she transferred a credit card balance to a 0% card for 18 months, kind of like what we were just mentioning, divided the amount by 18 and made an automatic draft of the amount, $115 a month. And she has February and March, and then it's completely paid off, and she gets to start saving all of that money. So that's a pretty huge moment, Karen. I'm proud of you for just getting it done. So way to go on the 0% card too. So try, if you missed it, so the best way to, like, the first step to start investing is literally to do it. So pick an account, any account. I mentioned a few. Acorns being I don't have to think about where it's going. I just think about what my risk level is, and they invest it. Or opening up your own brokerage account. So going to Schwab is what I recommend. There are lots of other brokerage accounts that are out there. You want to click on brokerage account. It's a $0 balance to get started, $0 in fees. And so literally just setting up a recurring deposit from your checking account. They will do that. It is like step 2 of the account. They will help walk you through that. Set up a recurring deposit, and then you can even set up recurring buys if you've got something that you love. In terms of figuring out what you want to invest in, that's a trickier one. So when you do choose Schwab or another type of account like that, you might need to do a little homework to decide how you want to invest that money. I would recommend getting started in mutual funds and ETFs. Those are electronically traded funds. They're newer, kind of out in the last couple of years. The sweet part is that they have 0% fees. So when I buy a mutual fund, I don't feel the fees, I don't see the fees, but they do exist. They actually come out of the overall fund's earnings. It's because there's some guy sitting on the other side of that mutual fund deciding what it's going to buy. Well, he takes a cut. You don't feel it out of your cut, but you end up seeing it out of like the earnings of the whole year for that mutual fund. So if I invest in ETFs, those actually have 0% fees behind them. So whatever the ETF earns is whatever everybody that has the ETF ends up getting. So a lot of folks are loving them right now. And it can be a safe way to go too, because you're not investing in a single stock. So if you're brand new to the stock market, investing in single stocks is incredibly risky. It's not really where I would recommend someone who's brand new to go. If you have 0 savings, that's not where you want to go, because you're going to cry. Going in and investing in a stock, it has some significant ups and some significant downs. And while the ups are great, the downs are really painful if that's all the savings that you have. So I would recommend a mutual fund or an ETF. Now, once you have some savings set up, if you want to play and you want to get, even in Schwab, you can do this. So I have my little account that I put our monthly payments in, and I've got like 4 shares of this and 3 shares of that. You can do that in tiny little amounts. This is our little kind of like almost like escrow, because we don't escrow for a lot of our payments. So I have 5 shares of Cloudflare, which is like cloud computing. Cloudflare for me, it has good days and it has bad days. It lost $5 a share today. So that would be a $25 loss today on that stock. So you start to feel that in larger chunks if this is your only savings. So that's why I say, we don't really want to be there in the grand scheme of things with all of your money. You just want to be there with a little bit of your money, playing with those individual stocks. I really would recommend, if you're brand new investing, open the account, set up the recurring deposit, and then just focus on mutual funds and ETFs. You can Google this one. So look up best mutual funds, best ETFs. Don't just take the first page's advice, because a lot of times they have a little skin in the game on that one, but do some hunting. Look at how they've earned over the last year, 3 years, and 5 years. If you're brand new, I also wouldn't recommend any funds that haven't been around for 5 years. So it's a little, they could have done great, but they've only been there for a year. There's still some risk there too. So that's what I would focus on as you first get started. Okay. Let's see. I'm glad this is helpful for you guys. Stacy asks, any opinion on investment grade insurance contract? So Stacy, I'm not going to say that I know everything about all these things that are out there. And this is one where kind of getting into just a tricky spot for folks. I think the best way to go is you're really talking about like whole life insurance. And my kids were like, Mama, why are we watching this? The other night we used Pluto. I don't know if you guys do that. It's free. You can stream. Pluto has PBS on it. And Susie Orman was doing a retire something or other. It was a 2-hour something. And I was just hunting and I stopped on that. And this was actually one of the questions that she answered. And my kids were like, Mama, this is boring. Why are we watching this? Like, it's not boring to me. I'm enjoying this. But I loved her answer. And basically it was insurance is not investing. And never should you blend the two together. So if you are looking at that basically like whole life insurance side of things, and her answer was to a lady that had a $10,000 whole life policy. The lady was paying basically $50 a month on this whole life policy. Well, $50 a month at the end of the year, that's a chunk of money. Over like what, $500, $600 a year times even 10 years, you're at $6,000. You get where you're going here. You really could save that money yourself. So if you already have some savings put aside, great. I would take a term life insurance policy if you don't have enough to bury you right now. And I would put whatever extra you can, because term is a lot cheaper than whole life. Put whatever extra you can into a savings account that is basically your own whole life policy. Because the problem with a whole life policy is that, yes, when you die, it is worth $10,000. But if I tried to cash it out today, it is not worth $10,000. You've not made an actual like decent amount of money on that whole investment that you've made, instead of putting it somewhere else where you'd make 10% or so. So never mix those two, insurance and investing. Not pretty. Whole life insurance for most of us, I would say honestly, by the time you hit the point to retire, if you've got enough in an IRA, any IRA, traditional or Roth, to retire, you have enough to bury you, and you don't need life insurance. That's a hard one, because we just mentally, we need life insurance. No. If you've got enough to bury you, you've got enough to pay the bills, and nobody is dependent on you, that is important here. Nobody's dependent on you, so that's why I'm saying you're retired. You don't need life insurance. You fund that yourself. If that's where it is, you have that money put aside, and you're going to be good to go. But I wouldn't necessarily. That's just my 2 cents on that one. There may be a lot of people that disagree, but whole life insurance in the end, you're going to pay a ton of money that you could have just put into an account every single month yourself and come out ahead. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hop off. We've gone way over today, but it's always fun for me. Investing, I could probably talk until 11 if y'all wanted to. Next week, we're going to be literally diving into grocery side of things. I wanted to start with savings because this really, we all have passions. And when it comes to savings, this is where I hope we all can get passionate about. Next week, we're going to start to cut our grocery budgets, though. It is the largest amount of money that you spend that is different every month. You have control over your grocery budget. I don't always have control over my electricity bill and my other bills that are out there, but this one you do. So we're going to start to tackle that one next week with the basics and some advance on grocery saving. So join in Monday night, 8:30, same time, same place, every week. It was good to see you guys back today. I'll be back on tomorrow for our top drugstore deals. So hopefully you can catch that too. We've got a lot of unadvertised deals in both CVS and in Walgreens. That will be at 2 o'clock tomorrow. If you can't catch it live, it will always be recorded on Facebook and on YouTube as well. So thanks for joining me tonight, guys. If you've got extra questions that I didn't hit on, or as you start to ponder this, please feel free to email or to send me a Facebook message. So email is jenny@southernsavers.com. I'll be glad to try to help. Facebook message, obviously you just hit the message button and I will be glad to try to get you an answer on that one too. So again,